Welcome to episode 30 of Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And this is a Best Picture Showdown based around the 5 nominees at the 33rd Academy Awards, which include The Alamo, Elmer Gantry, The Sundowners, Sons and Lovers, and the winner, The Apartment. We will be giving some awards out to The Apartment later on in the show, but I know this is your first time seeing this film, Connor, so I wanted to get your general thoughts to start here.
I was very impressed. It was a very cute movie. It was a very ahead of its time movie.
Yes.
Had the balls to say some stuff about modern relationships that films at that time just did not talk about. And I love those kinds of films. I love films that pinpoint exact moments where things changed. And The Apartment is definitely on there. And another film that was nominated this year is on that list as well. Very excited to talk about these films today.
Yeah, we will definitely, really dig in. The Apartment was up for 10 Oscars at the 33rd Academy Awards, and these are the films of 1960. So that show is April 17th, 1961, hosted by Bob Hope. And yeah, The Apartment, did very well. 10 nominations, 5 wins, of course, the Best Picture win. And we'll be talking about 33rd Academy Awards and that Best Picture Showdown. That's why we do this. Episode 25, we got to do Kramer vs. Kramer. We checked out the 5 films from 1979. And I brought up Alien at the beginning of that episode. And I'm going to do something similar here. I'm going to bring up Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock's, horror masterpiece that, has an argument to be the best movie of the year. And it is an absolute crime that it's not nominated for Best Picture.
It really is. Honestly, if it had been in the bunch, this is the film that should have won Best Picture of 1960. This is the film that broke the Hays Code, that allowed people to finally make films they wanted to make. Psycho can be, like so many films, not just horror, can be credited to Psycho breaking this barrier. And it is still an incredible film. It holds up. It's amazing. It should have won Best Picture.
Yeah, I agree with you. For it to not even be in there is, it's a slap to the face. The Apartment's a great film, but Psycho is revolutionary. It's got everything you want, and some of the most impressive stuff that's been copied and, parodied over and over and over and still will 60 years later. It's amazing stuff. I feel like that had to be brought up, it will be brought up because it is up for some stuff. Hitchcock himself is up for director, but it was not in that group. So you and I did not watch that this week. We did watch the other films that were nominated for Best Picture. We skipped The Alamo. I'll be honest. Did you watch it? I skipped it.
No, I did not. Not again.
Yeah. We've seen that. We did a big episode on John Wayne. You could say a year and a half ago now.
Roughly, yeah. I think it was episode 15, 20 on the Filmgazm podcast.
Yeah, a long time ago we did that John Wayne episode, kind of dug into his career. And of course, The Alamo is a big part of that, right? So we didn't feel like it was totally necessary, but, we watched Elmer Gantry, watched The Sundowners, Sons and Lovers, and The Apartment. The Apartment is massive for a lot of reasons. And I want to go down, before we dig into the 33rd Academy Awards, I want to kind of talk about the cast and crew here, who's involved with The Apartment, because there's some heavy hitters here. If you go on IMDb and just go to the cast and crew and, look at the composer, cinematographer, and of course, Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, you look at these people, they're just loaded with Oscar nominations. So I kind of want to go down the line here. Of course, we'll start with Billy Wilder, an absolute icon when it comes to the Academy, and just, the golden age of Hollywood. The Apartment is written and directed by him. He has a total of 13 screenplay nominations and 3 wins altogether. 8 directing nominations altogether, 2 wins. That's that's really impressive to even write 13 films, let alone be nominated 13 times. Of course, this is in the early stages of the game when there's not a shit ton out, so there's not a shit ton to choose from.
Yeah.
But Billy's always there. He's always there, and a lot of them very much connect. And The Apartment's one of those. It's seen as one of his kind of iconic masterpieces. I would like to bring up the composer, Adolf Deutsch. 3 wins on 5 nominations altogether at the Oscars, while his soundtrack for The Apartment was nominated for a fucking Grammy. these are heavy hitters here. And when you're watching the movie, you see why it all kind of fits and makes sense. It's just a solid flick. IAL Diamond. He has one win for screenplay. That's for The Apartment. He helped write it with Billy Wilder. He also has 3 nominations altogether. Another guy who's just got some stuff in the bag. The cinematographer, Joseph Lichel. He has 9 nominations altogether and 1 win. This is crazy for all these people to be involved in the same film, and we haven't even got to the actors. It's pretty incredible. Jack Lemmon, 2 wins altogether on 8 nominations. And Shirley MacLaine, 1 win on 6 nominations. Now, how many movies can you think of where there's that many decorated people within? The Departed, like Scorsese and Nicholson are in the same movie. Holy shit, stuff like that. But this is wild. This is wild stuff, and it's a very much a heavy hitter and seen as a iconic film for the Oscars and just in general for the golden age of Hollywood.
Yeah, it's an impressive accomplishment. I mean, everybody involved, I think, knew this was special, but a lot of it was made up on the fly, made up on the go, kind of put together at last minute, which is kind of crazy for a production like this.
Yeah.
And Billy Wilder has been proving himself constantly. At that time, he'd already done, Sunset Boulevard and Some Like It Hot. Like, he was already like one of the masters at the time.
Yes.
And then he makes this, like his 5th masterpiece, which is like fucking crazy. I mean, that's insane to do now with a resume like that. 1960. Whew. And it is, something special. It's, as a first-time viewer, it's nice. It's a sweet movie. It pissed me off a lot, but the ending it's sweet. It's almost like it doesn't feel manufactured. It feels almost how people really act in situations like this. There's no guarantee things are going to work out, but there's hope. And I like that. It really set a model for rom-coms and dramedies of the future that would, take stuff even further. And you can't ask for more than that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's equally important. We've talked about films like Five Easy Pieces, right? That just kind of like, whoa, it just sets the template for what's to come. And we love that. We love exploring that and finding that. And we love that the Oscars occasionally also see that. There's many times where they do not. But I think this particular year, I think there's a couple films in there that they recognized that truly were, for their time, revolutionary. And not as much as Psycho, but that's okay. They're very good. Is there anything that sticks out to you as far as these individuals? Of course, the composer, the music's great, The Apartment, but for me, it was Joseph Lichel, the cinematographer, because The Apartment, the way it moves when you got him and Billy Wilder working together behind the camera, it's like a lot of 1960 movies feel similar, and The Apartment moves in a very unique way and has a lot of amazing shots inside of the apartment in New York, with all the buildings, some of the shots of the skyline. There was really impressive stuff for 1960. Again, not as impressive as Psycho.
Yeah, I agree with you. The cinematography is very special. I think this film's constructed in a very smart way. I think Billy Wilder knew that he didn't want this to kind of fall in with everything else. He wanted this to stand out. I think for me, it goes to the screenplay. I think Billy Wilder and I.L. Diamond nailed it. I think the dialogue is witty. The chemistry is incredible. The characters pop and they stand out in a way that films like this at the time, people kind of, a lot of actors and actresses kind of just read the work. It was like a conveyor belt with a lot of films, but you did get occasionally these films that went the extra mile to stand out. And The Apartment's one of those, in the way that it constructs the narrative and the way that people, act scorned, like, they're scorned or they're happy. The way it just felt real to me. And I liked that a lot, especially the way he treated women, the way what was his name? Sheldrick treated women.
Oh, yeah. The boss. Yeah.
He was such a scumbag, but you believed it. And Shirley MacLaine, the way she's treated, you believe that that's exactly how this would go down. And yeah, they sold it. I think that with, if he hadn't written this himself, I don't think it would have popped as much. Because that's where it all starts. It all starts with the words on paper. And if that's not a good foundation, you're going to have a shit film. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to go for 2 hours and 5 minutes without that script that pops, like you said, that just each actor is really carrying their own weight, even all the supporting actors. All of the gentlemen that are just misogynistic pricks that work at the office that CC Baxter works at, Jack Lemmon's character, that I felt like I was watching Mad Men. I was like, this is incredible. It really is setting the template for these characters that are so committed to being these douchebags that like you said, you believe it. And that's why it stands out. I went out on a whim and bought this at Half Price Books like a couple years ago, and I was just really glad I did, because I want to, own and see all the Best Picture winners. And The Apartment, I had heard great things, and I'm really glad I have it, man. It's a fun one. I'm really excited to dig into the awards that was up for. There's 10, so we got some work to do here. Bear with us; it's gonna be fun because we got some awards later on that we are gonna personally give out, and I cannot wait to do that.
Hell yeah, man!
So, do you want to take it from the bottom there? I guess we could go with best sound.
Best sound. Let's do this.
Best sound. That's our favorite category. Also, I did want to say something that I thought was really interesting, just about the time that this was in. It's black and white, right? The Apartment, and for 33 years, no black and white film won Best Picture until Schindler's List, and and then there wasn't one until what year was that, Connor? 2011, The Artist, yep. And of course we haven't seen one since. So that's such a fascinating, those gaps, right? That happen. And then you have a movie that came out that I think might win.
Yeah.
And Mank, David Fincher's Mank, I think it has a really good chance of winning Best Picture at this year's Oscars. And that'd be really cool, right? To see another black and white film do it. Cause there's that huge gap in between The Apartment and Schindler's List where, it's 33 years of where we moved to color, and that's what we're just used to. But I really dig the black and white. It's something that I really dig, just changing up my palette, every now and again.
Yeah. Well, it's gotten to the point where I don't even really notice. Like
film is taking it in. Yeah.
A few weeks ago, my grandma was telling me she was trying to introduce my cousin. I won't name her, although she'll probably figure it out. And my grandma was trying to introduce her to Miracle on 34th Street, the original. And my cousin said, "Oh, it's black and white. Oh, I don't want to watch that." And my grandma was heartbroken. And when I heard that, I was heartbroken. And I'm like, no, I will not have that kind of blatant. Yeah, I hate that. I hate when people just shut things down for cosmetic reasons like that. I get if you don't want to watch a movie because you don't like an actor or an actress or a director, or that's not your genre. But if you just don't want to watch a movie because it's old, you got to work on that.
Yeah, I can't imagine, because so many of my favorite movies come from these decades that we kind of go back to. A movie that I've brought up so many times and I will bring up constantly is like Treasure of the Sierra Madre. You would think 1948. No. I know there's film is The Snake Pit. Like goddamn. Boys Town. We'll go back to the 30s. Whoa, like some amazing shit happening.
Yeah.
In these decades that are they're well before us, and I feel like if you really want to dig into film, it's just there's gonna come a time where you're gonna have to do that. Your fandom is gonna take you there. Yeah. You're gonna want to watch Citizen Kane and Casablanca. It's just gonna happen eventually if you become obsessed enough.
Well, since the beginning of film, there have been masterpieces and there have been shit. And to this day, there's still masterpieces and shit made every year. Film has always been like that. There's no such thing as, a perfect year. just doesn't happen. I mean, 1999 was pretty goddamn close, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, 1999, 1975, 2019.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. It's fun to look back at these years, right? And of course, you know, whatever years from now, I'll see even more movies from 1960.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I have these under my belt now. Especially Elmer Gantry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get to best sound. Yeah.
Best sound. We have Sunrise at Campobello, Pepe, Cimarron, The Apartment, and the winner, The Alamo. Now, I don't really know what goes into best sound. I mean, that includes, I'm assuming, dialogue, Foley effects. I would even include the goddamn score in there since that's a sound. So I don't know what they want. So I'm going to say, all right, sure, give it to the Alamo.
Yeah, I think giving it to the Alamo is it's a war movie, right? So there's obviously a lot of stuff. But I'm going to go to bat here for The Apartment because I think The Apartment is doing things that I much appreciate now in film and in TV shows or whatever. Is in the building that Baxter works at, the amount of noise that is happening and the editing that takes, and the patience that takes. And there's Uncut Gems, I think, has some of the best sound editing and meticulous thought put into it. Sound of Metal, Amazon Prime film that just came out recently, is like, wow, there's a lot going on at one time here, but it all makes sense. And The Apartment does that in the fucking building that Baxter works at, where phones are going off, people are talking, multiple things are happening at once, but it all makes sense, and nothing is, it's clashing, but it clashes in a real and authentic way. And I appreciate that. So that's all I got to say, because I haven't seen the other three.
Yeah, me neither. Pepe, though, I kind of want to see just from the title.
Yeah, of course. I want to see everything at some point. Especially if you're going in blind, it's fun to do that.
Absolutely. Well, that takes us to best cinematography for a black and white film. They used to separate it.
Yep.
We have Psycho, Inherit the Wind, The Facts of Life, The Apartment, and the winner, Sons and Lovers. Now, I don't want to give Sons and Lovers the time of day, let alone an Oscar. So I'm going to say this should have gone to Psycho, personally.
Oh yeah, no doubt. This is kind of crazy. This is one where this is something that, and you could speak to. This is shit that's taught in schools, man. Like the cuts, the editing, the scene, the fucking stabbing scene. That is like what? Like that's some of the most amazing camera work ever. So not just that year, ever. Still 60 years later, people copy it, parody it all the time. And that shows like true greatness, when people want to just always copy it. And John L. Russell fucking did that.
Absolutely. There are two films that I think were wrongly excluded from most of the Oscars, and those are Psycho is one of them, simply because it was a horror movie, and it's a little bit too freaky for the Academy. So they gave it a few nominations, but I think not as much as it deserved. And the other film is Spartacus. Stanley Kubrick directed, Dalton Trumbo scripted. And the reason that was shut out mostly is because Dalton Trumbo was blacklisted. So it's political shit.
Which there's a film, an Oscar-nominated film, Trumbo, with Bryan Cranston. It all comes full circle. Jesus Christ, that's amazing. And I think doing Trumbo on the show would be fascinating, because we could kind of go into that part of the Academy history.
Be like Inception. By talking about Trumbo, we have to talk about Spartacus, and then we're just down a hole.
Yeah, exactly. You get lost in this shit, right? You're like, oh man, this guy's been nominated all these times, and you've worked with this guy, he's worked with that guy. Whoa. Yeah. It starts overlapping and becoming this world, and we like going to that world, even though it's got some shitty decisions here and there. Like for me, the biggest snipe that I've seen so far Psycho is definitely one of them, not getting a nomination there for Best Picture. Alien, like we brought up on from 1979, but 1989, Do the Right Thing it's beyond me. That's another one that I think fits in that category. We have this revolutionary film. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are we not choosing this one to be at least nominated for this award? That shit's happened multiple times, and it's very frustrating because you want those to get awarded. But at the same time, a film that either loses, or isn't nominated for Best Picture, or a film like Big Lebowski that's not even nominated for anything, or The Shining, it kind of helps those films out in the long run. It makes them like this cult type thing. Like, we don't give a shit. It's an awesome movie. It's like, oh, you guys don't get it. Big Lebowski is a masterpiece. And you kind of hold on to that, right? You're kind of like, yeah, fuck you. This is ours.
Yeah.
This is our cult film. And who cares if it didn't get any awards? They just didn't know what was going on. And that I definitely think that sometimes, and feel that way about a lot of those films that have just been, or, at the time when they came out, people just overlooked them.
Yeah, we've been talking about that shit for 116 episodes on the Filmgazm podcast. That's why that podcast was started, to highlight these films that are widely ignored by critics and the Academy. And sometimes there's overlap, but not very often.
Yeah. Isn't it cool how we really are kind of contradicting ourselves with the two podcasts that we have? It's like, oh, we're the horror guys when horror gets shut up at the Academy, but we're trying to find the even ground, and you and I are trying to challenge ourselves and watching as much shit as we can. And I have, kind of changed my mind a bit with this process now, 30 episodes in. I already, adored parts of the Academy, but now I'm like, oh man, they really nominated some cool ass films here and there, and yes, they make brutal mistakes, but damn, if it weren't for this, I wouldn't have seen Elmer Gantry. Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, I've said it on multiple podcasts now. I think I refuse to kiss anyone's ass when it comes to film. If there's an Academy classic that I thought was terrible, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the Oscars made a mistake. If there's a great horror film that I thought was terrible, I'm going to say, I don't get why this is beloved by the horror fans. It's all subjective. We're here to give our 2 cents. We're not spitting facts here. We're spitting opinions. This is all about what we think.
Yeah. And we're certainly growing, and we know that we have a long way to go. Like Billy Wilder, for example, this guy has 13 nominations for just writing, and then he has 21 altogether as an individual, and you and I would love to see all of those, right? And that's part of this journey, is you open that door, and then you keep going in when you can, and you watch Billy Wilder films when you have the chance, because you saw The Apartment. That was pretty damn good. I want to see the other ones now. And you're constantly opening doors and trying to go through them and see what's there. It's fun.
Yeah. We're of the mind that you can love Billy Wilder and Wes Craven, and you can hate films from both of those guys. There's no rules that says you can't.
Exactly. And also, we've shouted out films like Tommy Boy. We've done some comedy, some, animated. We just did a great episode on Nightmare Before Christmas on Filmgazm. And, we're always which actually does have an Oscar nomination or two.
Not the right ones.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's
I love how there was some Oscar Sunday kind of bled through into that Filmgazm when we started talking about the score and songs that should have been up for awards.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with things coexisting, and film being this one thing that I can respect as a whole, and also disrespect as a whole if I choose to do so with each film. It's very fun. It's an invigorating experience.
It is. I wouldn't want to do this if we had to shut ourselves off from any kind of film.
Exactly.
Well, that takes us to Best Film Editing, which The Apartment did win. We have, Spartacus, Pepe, Inherit the Wind, The Alamo, and The Apartment. I think The Apartment deserved this one. I think it's very well edited. I think, the choices the editor made definitely crafted a compelling narrative, and sure.
Yeah, no, I'm totally okay with this. I would love to rewatch Spartacus. That'd be something that I, maybe I would have a different opinion if I watched it, now just I watched The Apartment just hours ago. and so sometimes you have that recency bias maybe, but Spartacus, from what I remember, yeah, it's a very, very good film, and maybe would have something to say. But The Apartments just moves so fucking well.
Well, Spartacus is it's a Kubrick production. Those always are going to be a little bit. We're going to be a little bit biased towards him, pretty much the whole time. But Spartacus was when he was still a budding director, was still kind of figuring out who he was as a filmmaker. So it's a little different. He didn't write that screenplay. That was incredibly rare for him. So it doesn't really feel like a Kubrick movie, Spartacus. It feels more like a Kirk Douglas movie.
Yeah, I feel that.
But it is exciting. It's compelling, and it is way too long. I'll give you that. But it's got an incredible cast, and it's a good watch.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So The Apartment. Best art direction for a black and white film. We have Visit to a Small Planet, Sons and Lovers, Psycho, The Facts of Life, and the winner, The Apartment. I'm a little torn on this one.
Okay.
The Apartment, very impressive set design. I like The Apartment. I think that The Apartment is really kind of a character in this film. It kind of, helps this relationship blossom. On the other hand, the Bates Motel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where to go with this one.
I think Bates Motel is where you is the answer, because it sets up a place where now you immediately feel certain emotions right away, right? Even when you just hear it, even when you hear it. Whereas if you said the street that the apartment is on, you might not know, you might miss it or something. But Bates Motel, I mean, there's a TV show, there's so much lore behind this establishment, this place, whether it even be something we know about or things we just imagine, right?
Yeah.
There is lore there because we just think about it as fans of Hitchcock and fans of horror. Bates, I think it's got to take it because it just looks so goddamn daunting. Yeah.
There's a reason they called the prequel TV series Bates Motel.
Yes.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was nothing else that could call it, really.
True. It's the way Psycho is constructed. You have, as far as set design, you've got Marion's office, you've got the car dealership, you've got the Bates Motel, and then ultimately the Bates Manor, so to speak. And it does have this, just overt creepiness about it. You feel like this is, it's true, but you don't, you feel it in the time that this is not the first time this has happened. And there's just something so eerie about that place. Yeah, I'll give it. Yeah, Psycho.
Yeah, of what we've seen, Sons and Lovers, just no.
Dude, that movie was, I want to save it, but I'll just say this. That movie was unbelievably forgettable.
Like, after a few hours. It was like,
yeah.
Oh, what was that? Yeah.
Oh, boy. We'll get there. Let's do Best Original Screenplay next. We have Never on Sunday, Hiroshima, My Love, Facts of Life, Angry Silence, and the winner, The Apartment. And as I've already, kind of praised this screenplay, I have not seen those 4 films, but I can tell you The Apartment deserved this Oscar.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see The Facts of Life because that Bob Hope is in that. So, and he hosted this Oscar, so that'd be kind of cool. But The Apartment moves extremely well because of the screenplay. You said earlier that you got to have that shit on the paper first for a 2-hour film. So, and that's why The Apartment works in the first place.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That takes us to Best Supporting Actor. Very interesting choice. We have Chill Wills for The Alamo, Sal Mineo for Exodus, Jack Crucian for The Apartment, Peter Falk for Murder, Inc., and the winner, Peter Ustinov for Spartacus. We'll never understand why the fuck Chill Wills has an Oscar nomination for The Alamo.
Chill Wills.
It's politics, man. And while Jack Crucian is decent as Dr. Dreyfus, I really think this nomination should have gone to Fred MacMurray.
Yeah, Fred MacMurray, I was kind of shocked to see that he only has like one Golden Globe nomination, no Oscar nominations. This guy sort of blew me away in The Apartment, right? And when I said the Mad Men thing, he's really who I'm thinking of. And like Don Draper, holy shit! I see who you were studying, John Hamm. God damn.
Isn't it cool to see the films that were the beginning of so much, like films that would influence like thousands of future films and television shows? It's so cool to like root down and find the source.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and then there is sometimes you'll find an even deeper source. You're like, whoa, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. Like watching, when we did the Kurosawa little showcase here and Hidden Fortress, right? It's like that shit's rewarding to see that and kind of see, whoa, Star Wars. All right, like, that's fun. That's fun to see things that just clearly influenced something that we have a respect for and is huge here. Really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have not seen Murder Inc. or Exodus, but I have seen Spartacus, and I do think Peter Ustinov did a great job, and I like him a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and keep him there.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Ustinov, one of the greatest last names of all time. I would like to see Murder Inc. That's one in here that Chill Wills, I can do without, right? But I would like to see Exodus and Murder Inc. I think those would be valuable to see, but it might not matter. Ustinov is kind of taking this one no matter what it feels like.
Yeah, for sure. And again, no disrespect to Jack Crucian. I think Dr. Dreyfus is a necessary character, but not particularly a standout.
Yeah, I like loved his moments, but there weren't like a tremendous amount of them. And I don't know. I agree with you. There's just something was missing there, but I did love his moments. Yeah.
Well, that takes us to Best Actress. We have Melina Mercouri for Never on Sunday, Shirley MacLaine for The Apartment, Deborah Kerr for The Sundowners, Greer Garson for Sunrise at Campobello, and the winner, Elizabeth Taylor for Butterfield 8. And I really want to see Butterfield 8. That's been on my list for a long time. I love what I've seen of Liz Taylor, and I want more.
Yeah, and you believe this one, right? Shirley MacLaine's great. Deborah Kerr, I could do without, and the Sundowners. I could do without that film altogether. But Liz Taylor is someone that I think will be rewarded as fans as we keep doing these episodes and going back in time and watching stuff. And hopefully Butterfield 8 is one that pops up for us or other Liz Taylor work. You're right. She is someone that seemed like she was kind of, pushing shit and kind of doing things a little different. And someone like, clearly looked up to Katharine Hepburn, right? And someone who wants to push the envelope. And I respect that a lot. I would love to see that film.
Shirley MacLaine, though, is quite stunning in The Apartment. She's such a tragic character. And I would have been fine with her taking the statue for this. A lot of people think this is the film that she should have won for. And I get it. I have not yet seen Terms of Endearment, so I can't judge that. But I agree that she was fantastic in this, and I would have no issues with her having taken Best Actress.
Yeah, no, neither would I. And Terms is good. That's a good movie, and she's great. That's like an interesting case, though. Shirley MacLaine is, to me, if I were to compare her to a modern day actress, would be Amy Adams. Right away, it comes up off the top of my head, and in regards to the Academy. Because you have Amy Adams now has 6 nominations altogether and hasn't won yet. Shirley MacLaine had 6 nominations, got 1 win, and the 1 win, like you said, for Terms of Endearment, is the last one she was nominated for. And that shit happens, right? Where you feel like, well, maybe she should have won for one of these. I've heard she's incredible in The Turning Point, and maybe she should have won for one of those. And but this is probably the last one, so we got to give it to her, And they were right. She hasn't been nominated, that was it. Terms of Endearment was the last one. But it feels more like a career award than a proper Oscar when she might have had earlier work that was better, like in The Apartment, maybe. But she is very good in terms. So it's that happens though, man. Where someone gets nominated a handful of times and it's like, oh shit, we got to give them a win. It'll happen, and sometimes you feel like, well, you should have given it to them when they really deserved it. And that happens. That happens a lot as you just kind of look through the history of the Academy.
Yeah, and I hate when that happens. I hate career Oscars because on one hand, it's not rewarding the performance that should have gotten the Oscar. It's also probably keeping another actor or filmmaker from getting the Oscar they deserved for that particular body of work. I think that's what happened with Scorsese. I hate that that's what happened. I love The Departed, but he should have had that Oscar for Goodfellas or Taxi Driver or Raging Bull at that point. And yeah, I don't like it. But
yeah, I
don't know if Terms was a career Oscar yet because I haven't watched the movie. I can't judge her performance yet.
I don't think it is because it's very, very, it's a good movie and she's very good in it. But I see the pattern, and I think it could happen to Amy Adams or I just fear that it's going to be a movie that's not as good as Vice or The Master or Doubt. And it's, damn it, we should have given it to her for one of those. And it happens. And that's who jumped out at me immediately as kind of a comparison of modern day person who's clearly relevant to the Oscars. They clearly respect Amy Adams, the Academy, over the past couple decades. She just hasn't won yet. I can't wait till she does.
Well, from what I've seen this year, I really think, I hope this film doesn't get shut out because of for the wrong reasons, but I think she 100% deserves it next year for Hillbilly Elegy.
There you go. Yeah.
Could not believe her performance in that as a drugged out mother who hates being a parent. Just a incredibly tragic performance. And I think she has a shot. And I really hope the film doesn't get shut out because of the poor reviews it has unjustly gotten.
I have a hard time believing that Frances McDormand's not going to win.
Well, we haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah, for all the rumbling, it's like the same rumbling that Cliff Booth Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got from the critics. Like, oh,
yeah,
this is happening. And she's already a 2-time Oscar winner, Frances McDormand, with Fargo and 3 Billboards, and has other nominations on top of that. So, it's tight, man. It gets crazy. I want to see Hillbilly. It's obviously got all these mixed reviews, and I know you really enjoyed it, so I want to give it a shot. Trying to watch 2020 films here at the end of the year just so I can have an opinion on more and more, and it's been a jaunt.
Yeah, it's not easy to watch movies this year. It really is not.
No, you got to pay for shit or give all these different streaming services.
That's a bitch. But we're doing what we can.
Yes.
Best actor. We have, this is a hell of a group. We have Spencer Tracy for Inherit the Wind, Laurence Olivier for The Entertainer, Jack Lemmon for The Apartment, Trevor Howard for Sons and Lovers, and the winner, Burt Lancaster for Elmer Gantry. Now, as much as I love Jack Lemmon in The Apartment, nobody is taking this Oscar away from Burt Lancaster.
No. This Burt Lancaster performance has me thinking about what are my favorite best actor performances ever. And when that happens, I know I've seen something truly awesome, and he's it's a special performance what Burt's doing, from the hair to looking like he's hungover the whole time.
The constant smile.
Yes. How is he on like this where he looks like he doesn't ever sleep? I can't believe what I saw. I turned it on. All right, here we go. Like Elmer Gantry. We'll see what happens. And this is actually the first one I watched out of this whole group this past week. And I, like 10 minutes in, I was, whoa, this is And then I looked up I paused it, looked up some stuff. I was like, did I not? And I realized, oh, people who know this movie and have seen it really adore it and really see how special it is and see how it's influenced so many things today. And how this character for, you and I is like, oh my God, that's Paul Thomas Anderson character. Like for you and I, our generation, we're watching, these guys or Tarantino or whoever it is. But Paul Thomas Anderson is certainly the guy who popped out because Elmer Gantry is fucking Daniel Plainview. You and I know this, and we saw it right away, and it was like, what am I watching here? This is incredible.
Yeah.
And I also felt like I was watching First Reformed, and I also felt like I was, in this whole world of, oh my, holy shit, I've seen the light. and I'm so happy I've seen Elmer Gantry. It is immediately one of the movies that stands out with Treasure of the Sierra Madre, those, these films that we've gotten to see because of the show. It stands out right away. Like right away. Stands out just like Norma Rae did 1979. I love this movie. A damn near masterpiece in my opinion.
It's brilliant. It really is. And Burt Lancaster's performance is so lights out. He's playing the way he plays Gantry. He's the snake in the grass and the angel on your shoulder at the same time. It's a remarkable performance. You never know what his grift really is. Yeah. It really is amazing. Like at times I'm like, holy shit, he really believes that he's the man of God. But then I'm like, no, he's fucking with them. But nope, he really does believe it. You flip-flop so many times. And then by the end, you're still kind of not sure. It is really like powerful. I was so mesmerized. It made me want to go find all of his work.
Okay. Yes. And like I'm an idiot sometimes, and I'll just things will pass me by. But I was listening to a thing on Criterion Channel, and the Safdie brothers, of course, Uncut Gems and Good Time, awesome guys. They were raving about Atlantic City, like raving about it. And I was like, oh, I kind of put that in the back of my mind and whatever. And they're like it was on Criterion, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll watch it. And never got around to it. And now I'm like, fuck, Burt Lancaster's. and now I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find Birdman of Alcatraz, and I'm gonna find From Here to Eternity, even though we're gonna save that for a podcast episode some other time. I need to see these films.
Well, prior to this, I'd only seen Burt in Judgment at Nuremberg, which I
same
adored, and he was amazing in that. And then to see him as Elmer Gantry, it really showcases his range.
We saw Airport as well.
Oh fuck yeah!
Airport. Yikes!
Paycheck gig doesn't count.
Yeah. Yikes! Yeah, we that one's not one of our favorites there. Yeah.
whenever something like that threatens to ruin an actor's reputation, I always remember Al Pacino did Jack and Jill, but he also did The Godfather. So that does not mean The Godfather's worthless now. It just means that Al Pacino has to fucking live with the fact he did Jack and Jill.
Yeah, that's so there.
Burt can do Airport. I don't give a shit because Elmer Gantry was so good.
Yeah, it's his only win. He has 4 nominations altogether. That's why I named those other films: From Here to Eternity, Birdman of Alcatraz, Atlantic City. And it ranges 3 fucking decades. It ranges 30 years, those nominations. And yeah, I want to see them all.
Hell yeah, man. And of course, we are also big fans of Spencer Tracy and Laurence Olivier. I have not seen those 2 films. I really want to. And especially Inherit the Wind. I've heard amazing things about that for years. And
and Spencer Tracy, I mean, his prime lasted for fucking ever. So
oh, yeah, he's the man. And Trevor Howard in Sons and Lovers, I don't know why he's billed as best actor. I mean, he's the dad who's very much a supporting character. And this just feels, political, like he got paid the most, so he gets to be best actor. And I don't think he should be here anyway. I think that should be Anthony Perkins for Psycho.
No kidding. Yeah. Hate to bring it up again, but they're the ones who fucked it up. At least they got Janet Leigh over there in Best Supporting. That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. But this is Norman Bates we're talking about here, one of the most iconic characters in film history, not just horror history, film history. We all know who Norman Bates is. Everybody. And that performance is so freaky.
that shot, that last shot, you know, of him, it's a picture you see everywhere. So even if you haven't seen Psycho, you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know? And you know the scene, the stabbing scene, you just know. You don't even have to see it. It's crazy. It's one of those iconic, monumental films. But Shirley Jones and Best Supporting Actress, I'm totally okay with.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
God damn.
Elmer Gantry has got to go on our list for when we come back to 1960. That's got to be our film.
It is. No question. Because Psycho, we obviously did over on Filmgazm, and that's where we felt like it belongs, and it does belong there. It's a iconic horror film. You know, of course, it's like you've said, and I'll always repeat that it is huge for film altogether. But what's great about that is that it's a fucking horror movie. You know, like that happens every now and again, where one of those monumental movies, Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, yeah, but it's a horror movie. You have to deal with that. Silence of the Lambs, and I love that.
It's like watching the last horse in the race make it to first place. It's nice.
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh yeah. That's the best feeling as like a movie fan who's going to bat for Psycho and for Hitchcock. That's definitely a good feeling.
And let's close out the best actor discussion by talking about Jack Lemmon.
Yes,
Jack Lemmon,
of course.
Iconic performer in his own right, 2-time Oscar winner, a very likable character in The Apartment, probably the only decent man in the whole goddamn movie, apart from the doctor. But just a sad sack, man. Like I felt so bad for this guy who's having to give up so much just so he won't get fired by these assholes who are constantly taking advantage of him, and then not even having not having the courage to stand up for this girl until the very end. It's sad, but Lemmon plays CC Baxter so well.
I think that Jack Lemmon embodies exactly what we want out of a dramedy or rom-com lead actor.
Yeah.
Who we relate to because he's sort of stuck in this, with his occupation, but he also has this wild thing going on, in his life that he's got to figure out and he's got to put an end to. It's going to drive him insane. The fact that the just on paper, the plot of this is like, oh, CC Baxter has this apartment. He loans the key out to these guys so they can go sleep with women, so their wife doesn't know. Is like, what? Who directed it? But then you see all these people that are working, and Jack Lemmon is certainly one of the most major things in this film that makes it run and work the way it does, and makes it last as long as it does. Because there's plenty of films from the 60s, 50s, and 60s, and that are going for the rom-com, going for this, kind of like, oh, his life sucks, and then at the end he gets the girl or whatever. But The Apartment actually does, takes the steps to make this a good movie, and that's why it still stands 60 years later. And Jack Lemmon is, massive reason for that.
Yeah.
You mentioned how he's playing Baxter really well. He's playing that like kind of stereotype extremely well. When he's sick, good God, like the way he's, using the tissues and how he's kind of dorky and like leaving them out on the desk and all these little things that Jack Lemmon is doing it's very impressive.
Well, you need a guy so unflinchingly and obviously honest to work as the protagonist of this film where everybody is using everybody else.
Yes.
And you need to relate to him. It's the only way this works. And Jack Lemmon is impossible not to like. He is such a likable person and a likable actor. And Billy Wilder knew that. Yeah, he's perfect. No one else could have done this, I don't think.
No, not not at the time. Wouldn't make it work like that. The look, the age he was, Jack Lemmon, such a fascinating career. The guy has 8 nominations is special when it comes to the Academy. There's just not a lot of guys who've been able to rack up that many. And I before we move on to the next conversation or next category, The first film I ever saw him in, can you guess what it was?
Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was like, "Who's this guy? God damn, he's got chops." Oh, it's Jack Lemmon. Oh, okay. Because I had heard about him. This was years ago when I watched Glengarry for the first time, and love that movie. Awesome cast. And he just blew me away. And he's always in the back of my mind. I've always been like, I need to study him more. I need to watch more of his stuff. And I'm on that journey still. I want to go down that Lemon road, and he obviously will come up just because he's been up 8 times. He'll come up on other shows, and he certainly will be talked about more here.
Yeah, absolutely. Glengarry Glen Ross is such a fucking great movie. I want to watch that right now.
It's so entertaining. When Baldwin comes in, from then on, you're kind of entranced. Yeah.
Yeah. My first Jack Lemmon was an oddball. It was it's a comedy from the early 90s called My Fellow Americans.
Okay.
Where
I haven't seen that.
Jack Lemmon and James Garner are former US presidents who have always hated each other. And the current president is Dan Aykroyd, who is super corrupt and is doing something that implicates Garner and Lemmon in some crazy shit. And they end up like stranded in the Midwest and have to get back to DC to stop the president from doing this crazy shit and clear their names. And along the way, they bond, and it's fucking hilarious. It's such an underrated movie, and I've loved it for years. I think it's funny as hell. Jack Lemmon and James Garner together, ex-presidents, are funny. Jack Lemmon is super cheap. Like, he's like, money is such a stickler to him. Like, he'll go out of his way to save a penny, like off the road. And then James Garner is so vain and pretentious. He thinks he was like the greatest president America ever had. And Jack Lemmon's like, you're fucking dreaming. It's great.
Incredible. Yeah. I really want to see Save the Tiger, of course.
Yeah.
And Mr. Roberts, the 2 he's won for. This is another guy. The 8 nominations, they range 30 years for this guy, 1956 into the mid 80s. Just fucking nuts.
Yeah, he's special. We'll be seeing him a lot.
Yes.
Best director. We have Fred Zinnemann for The Sundowners, Jack Cardiff for Sons and Lovers, Alfred Hitchcock for Psycho, Jules Dassin for Never on Sunday, and the winner, Billy Wilder, for The Apartment.
No, yeah, I mean, we've actually seen 4 of these. Yeah, we just haven't seen Never on Sunday. And The Apartment is awesome. Billy Wilder, of course, is a darling to the Academy, but got to be Hitchcock.
Tell me how Richard Brooks is not in this group right here.
Oh, that too is that too is a bit beyond me. And you could say Kubrick should be in there as well. I mean, it could be just a powerhouse group. And these guys are Zinnemann. I don't want to just bash on these guys, but Sons and Lovers and Sundowners are just, neither of those films move well. They're boring as hell and so forgettable. There's nothing about it that I see as influential to like the future of filmmaking at all. I think it's a 1960 film that's like, I can leave it, or whatever. I think Hitchcock is definitely deserving of being there, and Billy Wilder. Oh, that's okay. What do you think about him winning? Are you okay with that, or do you think someone else should have won?
I think Billy Wilder is a safe choice. I think
very much.
I think he did a good job directing this movie. We've already sung his praises. However, I think this should have gone to Richard Brooks for Elmer Gantry.
That's fair. I think that's the scenes under the tent, dude. Whoa.
That movie was unbelievably ahead of its time. No other movie had ever touched something like that. No studio wanted to finance this film. Richard Brooks really went to bat for that one. He put everything into Elmer Gantry, and it showed. The fact that he's not here, it's got to be political. the Christians on the Academy board did not like the Elmer Gantry.
Yeah, no, it's not good for the children, Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Like, let's put Sons and Lovers and Sundowners in there. That's these two safe ass choices. Never on Sunday. Let's see. That's a Greek romantic comedy film. Yeah, I don't know. Not sure about that one. Don't know. I don't know much about it at all.
No, and honestly, I wouldn't put Kubrick in there for Spartacus.
That's fair. That's fine.
Yeah, I think that Spartacus is the least Kubrick of Kubrick's entire filmography. And I think because he was, at odds with Kirk Douglas, he had Trumbo writing the screenplay. That was very much a Kirk Douglas film that Kubrick got involved in. And he's like a placeholder director on Spartacus. And yeah, I just don't think he has done better work as a director for sure, before and after Spartacus. So, and I don't like when placeholder directors get, nominated just because they were there when the film was made.
That's fair. Yeah, of course. Well, it'd be like with with Poltergeist, you don't, Steven Spielberg, but Toby, yeah. He was there, I guess.
Like, for example, there was one a few years ago when Morton Tildum was nominated for The Imitation Game. That's a great movie, but not really because of Morton Tildum. I don't know who the hell he is. His eye there's no eye there. He just kind of was put on this film. There isn't, I feel like anyone could have directed The Imitation Game. It's just a good movie.
Yeah, for sure. And you want the 5 nominations to be movies that are going to try something different, change the game up a little bit, be unique, be distinct, right? Be something that, right, Billy Wilder, when you see it, you're like, oh, this is Billy Wilder. This is his kind of rom-com. You know what you're watching. Hitchcock. Holy shit, you know exactly what's going on when you watch Hitchcock, and that's really cool. But yeah, like you said, when you don't have like an identity, you just don't really deserve it,
The name of the award is Best Director.
Yeah.
It needs to be a director who stands out with his film, who accomplished something special, who made a film that's going to last. And you can tell exactly who is behind the camera. That's important. Like, I know a Billy Wilder film when I see one. I know a Hitchcock film when I see one.
Yes.
I don't know who I will, what does a Jack Cardiff film look like? What does a Fred Zinnemann film look like? I don't know. Because I watched one and nothing stood out.
Yeah, Fred Zinnemann, I'm very keen on trying other stuff out because he's won 4 Oscars.
Really?
And I'm like, yeah, I would love to watch more of his stuff, from the old days.
I never would have thought that.
He made 25 movies, and apparently they're all over the place as far as like how people feel about them nowadays. Yeah.
Shit, son, he did From Here to Eternity.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, we need to see more stuff, but Sundowners is boring as hell.
What happened with the Sundowners? Because that's a hell of a resume. Damn,
No, I want Zinnemann. Cardiff. I'm not too sure about. But yeah, Zinnemann's a name that I've seen multiple times.
Damn,
yeah, and then I know that. Well, like you brought up Kubrick, that he's on Spartacus. Maybe Zinnemann wasn't totally the guy there. Who knows? Maybe he wasn't the exact eye on set. Totally, shit happens,
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's what happened.
It's possible. When you make 25 movies, one of them might not be exactly what you want.
Well, I take back 60% of what I just said.
Yeah, I stand by you. I stand by you because this category, you need to find, in this case, 5 individuals who tried something different and tried to, like you said, make an impactful, lasting movie. And obviously Hitchcock did that.
Yeah.
Obviously Billy Wilder did that. Zinnemann, I hope, has done with the other films. When we watch From Here to Eternity, we'll do a whole episode on that. I can't wait. I just don't know much about it. I'm gonna stay open-minded a little bit on it because I just, the Sundowners can't be it. Yeah.
Well, it's best director for the film at hand, not best director in general. So
yes.
There's my new defense of Fred Zinnemann. Oh God.
Freddie.
So that takes us to Best Picture, where we can talk about the 5 films we watched in preparation for this. We have The Sundowners, Sons and Lovers, Elmer Gantry, The Alamo, and the winner, The Apartment. Let's start with The Alamo, since that's the one we kind of skipped for this because we'd seen it and we get the picture. We're from Texas. We know what The Alamo is. We know the story. There was no beekeeper played by Chill Wills.
Yeah, like been on, school field trips to the Alamo growing up, stuff like that. And it's a film that I was shown in school like multiple times, and obviously rewatched it for that John Wayne episode. I just don't care. I just don't care about this movie. Not saying I don't care about the Alamo, but this movie, The Alamo, not for me. John Wayne, not for me. It's okay, but it just does not belong in a Best Picture conversation or category. But it's not the only one here that doesn't belong. So,
well, when we did the Alamo, when we did the John Wayne episode, there were a handful of films that I thought stood out that I liked. There were not many; most of them bled together. But the Alamo was one of the films that I did like. I appreciated the ensemble. I thought it was the one film where John Wayne really kind of belonged. And
yeah.
I liked the score. I liked the production design. And I thought the battle scenes were impressive. But I agree that it's not Best Picture material. And it's of John Wayne's films, not even close to the best either.
No. And that's, like you said, there's not a lot, right?
Not really.
They certainly bleed together. Yeah.
But, the Alamo was John Wayne's baby. He starred in it. He directed in it. He produced it. He directed it. He produced it. This was big for him. So I can see him, pulling some strings to get some nominations here. He's the kind of guy who would do that. And also the kind of guy who would absolutely go to bat against Dalton Trumbo and get Spartacus relatively shut out, apart from a few technical awards.
Well, yeah, in Trumbo, I love how John Wayne pops up in the film Trumbo with Bryan Cranston. It's definitely a relevant figure when you're talking about this era of Hollywood, because he's trying to disrupt. John Wayne is trying to disrupt anything progressive, basically anything that isn't for him, a straight white guy. He's like, nah, like he's fucking delusional, dude. So yeah, I just don't see a place for him, like, in this conversation.
Yeah. He's really a monster, John Wayne. And
yeah.
I didn't think we'd ever come back to this, but here we are. I mean, John Wayne, we fucking hate that man. We did a whole episode talking about just how much his legend doesn't matter and why he doesn't deserve that kind of, idolatry. He's such a prick, a bastard who ruined so many careers and hated so many people unjustly. And just, yeah, fuck him. Fuck John Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, he's exactly what we are against with art. Like, exactly what we're against. Like, he wanted to hold people back. He wanted to shun people away from even doing anything, having a chance to do anything, trying to blacklist people. Just fucking crazy, fucking lunatic that doesn't belong in a creative environment. Like, what are you doing? Movie making is for people who want to be free. You fucking moron.
Anybody who tries to censor art goes straight to hell.
Yeah, that's unfortunately a lot of this stupid ass industry is made up of a lot of people that think that way. But the craft itself, oh, do I love it.
Oh my God. It's the best. I mean, we wouldn't have this many podcast episodes under our belt if we didn't adore movies, obviously. But, where that adoration is, there's a lot of animosity too. And we bring that up. We have a lot of beefs with the industry. And
for sure. Yeah. No, it's about holding like everybody accountable, right?
Yeah.
If you gain some knowledge about something, hold them accountable. We talked a whole lot about Dustin Hoffman and his ridiculous, antics throughout filming Kramer vs. Kramer. That's the kind of stuff you can say the work is good, but also bring up that they were a total asshole while doing it. I think that's okay to do with an artist, with a celebrity, or with an athlete when they're playing. Man, you scored a lot of points, but you're being a fucking dick while you're doing it. I think it's okay to see it as that and hold someone accountable, in that regard. You and I are definitely, we try to learn about all these individuals if we can, and see what they have to offer as people and as artists. And John Wayne is someone that I just don't care for either.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. He made the same movie 200 times and, hated everyone who wasn't a straight white man.
Yeah, yeah.
Moving on. We have the Sundowners. Mm-hmm. A surprise. Go ahead.
What I was going to say was, which one's which? The Sundowners and the Sons and Lovers. No, I'm kidding. We just watched them. But they are. It's funny how they're both just very boring and very forgettable, and just neither of them have anything totally unique to offer.
They don't. The Sundowners is one of the most poorly put together scripts I've ever seen. Yeah, there is nothing pushing these people anywhere. It's a movie about a family in Australia who are trying to find work in sheep herding. Mom and the son want to settle down. Dad has the bug, and he's like, I can't settle down anywhere, mate. And it's a surprisingly great cast. Deborah Kerr, Robert
extremely
Mitchum,
talented.
Robert Mitchum, and Peter Ustinov. And at first, when the credits were rolling, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. And I thought, Robert Mitchum's accent was pretty decent. I was like, huh, all right. And then the movie kept going, and it kept going. And it wrapped up so many different narratives and then just kept going. It's like, what the hell is the point here? Like, what is this about? They find work, they find a place to settle down, then they lose that job, then they buy a horse, and then they're racing the horse to settle old debts. Like, where are we right now? God, like,
I don't know. Here come the Sundowners. That's the poster. That's on the poster.
It's like two different movies stitched together Frankenstein style. I don't like this at all.
No, and that's great the way you put it. Okay, this looks like could be promising here with the cast and the opening credits, and then it takes about 8-10 minutes to realize, oh boy. Oh, I even looked at Brianna and I was like, I'm sorry, we're gonna be sitting here for about 2.5 hours. If you want to watch something else, I understand. That kind of movie.
Through most of the Oscars, it has been about 5 nominees for Best Picture. So we're playing Russian roulette quite a lot when it comes to these films. We don't know if all of these films are going to be great. There's very few years where all 5 nominees were gold, or all 10 or whatever. This year was one of those years, and we lost twice. Well, 3 times if you count the Alamo.
Something that sticks out is actually 1970, because we both dig Patton a lot. We both dig 5 Easy Pieces, but we thought MASH was trash, and Airport, they're just not for us, right? They were not films that we enjoyed, whereas the other two we dig a lot, and that's kind of the same case here.
But then you look at like 1948, where we went in blind for all 5, and we ended up with The Snake Pit, The Red Shoes, Johnny Belinda, and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, 4 incredible fucking movies I'm going to be going back to. So sometimes we win.
And isn't that the best, how those 4 lost to Hamlet? Hamlet's the winner, and that's the one we're never going to watch again. I love that. And 1979, all 5 of them at least solid movies. Breaking Away is my least favorite, and it's awesome. All that jazz, completely unique, completely different. I know you feel a certain way about Fosse's All That Jazz. I love it. And Apocalypse Now, and Norma Ray, holy shit. It'll happen. But like you said, this happens to be one. I have a feeling next time we do this, it won't be that way. But I think this is one of those years that's going to be weaker when we look down the line, when we do more of these and start stacking them on, and get more Best Picture showdowns under our belt. We'll kind of see that. Yikes! 1960 is not one of the better Oscar years.
Nope. Sundowners. one of the worst, one of the lesser $4 I've spent in my life. That's how much it costs to rent these films on Vudu, as we do.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, this character wants to just like leave the family, and it was some of the worst acting I've seen, and I didn't believe this moment between this family of like, oh no, we're in the Australian outback. I just didn't believe after, again, about 8, 10, 15 minutes of this film, I didn't believe a goddamn word they said.
Also, is this family supposed to be Irish, or are they like native Australian?
Because Paddy Carmody is Robert Mitchum.
A very Irish name, and
yeah, and then Ida is the wife. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, God,
I don't know.
Well, anyway, that takes us to Sons and Lovers, which was the first film I watched for this bunch, and that was a bad vibe from the get-go. And that is one of the most forgettable. At least I remember the Sundowners. I don't remember most of the Sons and Lovers.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was on my phone a lot during this one. I took the time to kind of read about the 33rd Academy Awards and just kind of interesting shit about it. Yeah, because this movie, I can't when I know I'm gonna be sitting there for an hour and 40 minutes watching whatever this is. Dean Stockwell, I wanted to punch him in the face the whole film, the whole time. And when I got to the ending, I was like, this is what I waited for. This bullshit, sentimental, not even worth it like moment. Fuck out of here. Terrible.
I didn't even realize it was the end. I was like, all right, and here we go. Oh, it's over.
Yeah.
I was
okay.
Like,
yeah.
There's no resolution here. I don't know what.
That was rushed. Yeah.
So to save you guys an hour 40, Sons and Lovers is about an artistic kid who comes from a family of coal miners. I think it's coal miners.
Yeah,
and his mom is encouraging his artistic ability because she doesn't want him to be a miner. She loses her other son in a mining accident, and then the kid, Dean Stockwell, whose name is Paul, wants to experience love, but mom's like, well, no, because if you're in love, then you can't be around me all the time. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense. Instead of, pursuing his own life, he's like, well, okay. It's really just watching a very emotionally manipulative mother destroy this kid's psyche and fuck up what he thinks is love. So he ends up in some pretty cold relationships. See, I'm getting bored even talking about this.
it's like if you look up on like Wikipedia, it'll say it's a literary psychological interpretation of the Oedipus story, the Greek mythology. It's like, okay. Yeah, I don't think I need that in my life with Dean Stockwell fucking popping up every night.
Well, his whole, like, every relationship he had, like the one Catholic girl was like, what, too controlling because all she wanted was to marry you and have a family. And then the woman who's cheating on her husband with you is really in love with her psycho husband. And you're just like, well, I love you, but I guess, all right, bye. Like, there is no gratification in this film whatsoever. There's no point to watching this. Like, ugh, God.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't even know what to compare it to in modern times. It would be just such a forgettable movie. I've seen a lot of films in theaters the past whatever decade, and one that pops out to mind. I'm really trying to rack my brain right now for movies that I saw that were just so boring and dumb, like The American with George Clooney. Just like, what the fuck was that? That's how I felt about this movie. Just what am I doing? What am I doing here?
That was a dull one.
Yeah, just dull shit that you just kind of forget right after it happens, and that's not what you want. It's not what you want out of an hour and 40 of your day.
The last film I saw in theaters that I remember being like visually angry and bored was 2017's It Comes at Night.
I really like that movie.
No, sir. Oh boy, that was a rough one. Well, for starters, spoiler alert, nothing comes at night.
It's nothing. It's a psychological movie. Yeah.
The film was horribly marketed. It was a lie, basically. The marketing was there's a monster and it's coming, and the movie is we're the monster. Ooh, big big reveal. Yeah, like every other horror movie isn't toying with that exact concept constantly. God, oh,
Joel Edgerton's really good in it. Christopher Abbott's really good, and Kelvin Harrison's really good. But I understand the plot's not very strong.
oh, yeah. I'm sure there were others, but that's the one. That's the first one that came to mind.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in theaters. I really dig it, but I also like I have like a I really like Trey Edward Schultz, guy who wrote and directed that movie, and I like where his mind is, and I don't think that movie totally worked, but I really liked aspects of it. And then he went on to make fucking Waves, which is like maybe my favorite movie of the past decade. So you know, I forgive the guy.
Well, I liked Waves, but I disliked It Comes at Night so much that he still has to make it up, in my opinion.
Which one's worse? It Comes at Night or Midsommar?
It Comes at Night, definitely.
Okay.
Midsommar,
Okay.
I gave a 6 or a 5, I think. I gave It Comes at Night a 4.
Okay. Okay.
Midsommar was interesting. I didn't like that because A, it was way too long, and B, it was a huge, blatant ripoff of The Wicker Man without even being like attempting to be original. And I really don't like that a lot of people didn't catch that. Like, I don't know. And I was having a bad day. So
Yeah, I've seen Midsommar like 4 times now, and I kind of grow closer and closer to it each time, and see some things that I really like, and I agree with you that it is in ways a ripoff of The Wicker Man, but I also think like with Hereditary, it's a very very original horror movie, but I do think he's using tricks that have been used many times in horror, and I love that he does that. I think that's one of my favorite things about Ari Aster is that he very much recognizes what the cool tropes of horror, especially with the camera. That's fun, but Midsommar is not nearly as strong as Hereditary. That's for sure.
well, there's a difference between camera tricks that are nods to your favorite directors and lifting the entire plot out of a movie.
Yes.
And that's the problem I had.
Yeah. I totally understand that. Yeah.
But maybe I do need to just watch Midsommar on a better day. It's just tough to revisit a 2.5-hour movie you didn't like.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially when you got to watch movies like Sons and Lovers.
Oh, but now we get to talk about Elmer Gantry.
Yes.
And holy shit, my friend, this was special. This is a film that blatantly attacked religious corruption at a time when films did not do that. You did not touch the church. And this already the book was banned in like almost every state for its content that was bashing God. So making a movie out of it was a big deal. And nobody wanted to finance it. Richard Brooks ended up finally getting, I think it was MGM. And here we are, this film about a con man who manages to convince this devout evangelist that he's a man of God and he can help her organization, when in reality, he just wants to sleep with her. But throughout the film, we start to think maybe this guy's really, the real deal. Maybe he's finally, embracing something. But we don't know. The movie kind of keeps you in suspense about what Gantry's ultimate plan really is. And I just personally don't think he does not have one. This guy just goes with the flow and stays until a situation is no longer in his control. And that's awesome. Like, he's the hero and the villain of the movie. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're forced as the viewer to, kind of reconcile with that right away, that, we're going to be kind of behind this guy. And you and I sign us up. We love characters like this. We want to be with a character like this for a couple hours, who is just kind of going off the cusp and making these wild decisions and just embracing something, as it goes. As the film, we see how he learns about this, embraces it, and then, like you said, we as the viewers are like, oh my god, is he actually in this now? Like, is Elmer actually in this world now? Like, oh my goodness, it's quite amazing. And I've I've been to so many growing up. I've been to so many different kinds of evangelical, events and church events, and where there's all kinds of different speakers. And I tell you, I've seen guys like this. I've seen the intense, like they're like waving the Bible at you, and the poster of Elmer Gantry says, "You're all sinners. You'll all burn in hell." Like they're, I've seen speakers like this who are like in your face, and it is something else to experience. And seeing it on the screen this way was pretty epic, but also at times just tough to watch. Just tough to watch this environment,
Yeah.
and how ridiculous it is, and how man-made it is at so many times when they're trying to claim that God is real, when they keep making up these rules and doing these different things, and the shit that goes on under that tent, man, it's intense stuff. And it's immediately one of my favorite like religious movies where religion comes into play. And of course, There Will Be Blood is Daniel Plainview, something we mentioned earlier, clearly takes a little bit from the Elmer Gantry character in this world of religion. And man, I was blown away. I'm really glad we chose this year just for this movie. I even if we didn't see The Apartment or didn't see anything else, I'm glad we got to see Elmer Gantry.
Me too, man. It's a phenomenal watch. It's so cool. I think Burt Lancaster treads the line between just monster manipulator and charming gentleman. It's really cool to see that, both sides of this guy. And then also to see him get caught in, a pickle, like with Lulu, and how he handles that. And he does kind of, take it. It's crazy. Like he could have, spun that, but he doesn't. It's moments like that that made me think, like, maybe this guy really does believe. But then, later on, he has that spiel. It's that smile. I don't trust that smile for a second. But it's so good to see. And the ending is so brutal. I mean, God. I don't want to spoil it for you guys because it really is a great film. You should watch. It is on Prime right now if you want to check it out.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't spoil it. I agree with you. I think it's one that people kind of need to see. It's one of those films that maybe has gotten overlooked, and I know it has kind of a cult following, but it deserves a serious reevaluation, much like some of the films that we've brought up before in the past with this show. Yeah, man. I think this should have won the award for these 5 films. I think Elmer Gantry should have won. Now, if Psycho was in there, I would think differently, but because it's not, I think Elmer Gantry is the best film of these 5.
I'm exactly the same way. Yeah, Psycho should have taken it, but since it's not there, I want to give it to Elmer Gantry.
Yeah.
Because this is a film that you can feel peppered throughout film history after 1960. Yep. It broke a barrier that no other film had broken, and now it was, other filmmakers were inspired to make films about religion in a negative light. And that's special.
Oh, it's beautiful. Very special because that's what art is all about, is opening up those doors, opening up those opportunities for people to share their story about this stuff that people go through. And it's traumatizing for some people. I still, there's plenty of stories I can tell you, can tell anyone that I'm still wrapping my head around stuff that I witnessed and saw. And, because I lived in Romania for almost a year, and I went to conferences and all these different things, and there'd just be stuff that, if you would have told me, a couple years before it happened, I just wouldn't have believed you, stuff like that. Just mind boggling where religion will take people. And it becomes this kind of, dare I say, depending on the, the church itself and which establishment, it becomes a mob mentality, and it's very, very frightening at times, depending on the establishment.
Yeah.
and depending on who's leading it, right? Because very rarely it is a higher power actually leading these people. It's all personal agendas and seeking to line their own pockets, all those things. That's always going to happen.
Well, what Gantry really kind of hammers home is that there's a very thin line between a preacher and a cult leader. And if you're not careful, you can fall very fast and very hard into this.
Yeah.
And, Sister Sharon was genuine. She really did want to preach the word of God and help people. But you have people around her like Bill and Gantry who are in this for the money, who are in this for the fame and the glory and the power. And it's sick how easily it is to manipulate the masses. And I love that this film was the first to really talk about that.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. I can't wait to revisit this one in the future.
Well, yeah, and then a film we'll one day do is Spotlight, a movie from this decade that shouts out and puts this particular sector of religion. Hey, we're calling you out now. We're putting this into film format. We're gonna put this story out there for people to see and relate to and to learn. And that shit has to be made, man, especially when it's a true story.
Yeah.
That's a great way for film to be used for good.
And without Gantry, there is no Spotlight. There's no Doubt. No, There Will Be Blood. No First Reformed. None of that ever happens if this film isn't made in 1960. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. Getting to unpack all that shit. So let's talk about The Apartment.
The apartment, of course, the winner, and I'm not taking away from it at all. I feel like it is a very strong movie, and for it to be the winner, I totally understand. I think it's the safe choice. I think you could even say it's the right choice, but Gantry's definitely more up my alley and something that's a little more gritty.
Yeah, we like gritty films. We like significant films. We like films that challenge the way things are done. And while The Apartment toys with that, Gantry does that in fucking spades. So
Yes.
Yeah, it's no wonder we were going to gravitate more towards that film.
Yeah. But we have to give awards out to The Apartment.
Yes, we do.
So Elmer Gantry, we will do next time we come to 1960. Most certainly, we'll talk all about the plot and do awards for that movie because obviously we dig it. But the awards here for The Apartment are going to be really interesting. I'm excited to hear what you have, and thank you for listening, guys. If this is your first time, we have the Tarantino Award, which is Best Quote or Best Line. We have the Ennio Morricone Award, which is the Best Music Moment or Best Soundtrack Moment, whatever stands out to you with music. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for the Best Performance of the movie. And then the Roger Deakins Award for the Best Scene or Best Moment of the movie. So I'll let you start with your Tarantino. I just have one and it's pretty short, so I'll let you go ahead.
I have one, and I really like it because it's a little too real. It's after Fran had woken up from the attempted suicide and was talking to Baxter about life, and she says, "Some people take, some people get took, and they know they're getting took, and there's nothing they can do about it."
Man.
Yeah,
it's a big one.
It's sad, but it's very true. There are people out there who exist only to ruin other people's lives. And the people who are getting ruined, sometimes they know, but there's infatuation or there's financial risk or something. And they just have to stand there and take it. And it's horrible to find yourself in that situation. And to have that idea kind of represented in that line, made things a little clear. And I liked that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful line that does explain a lot about a specific character. I love that you chose that. I love that you chose that route. That's really cool. I definitely went funny. I went down the funny road with my Tarantino. It's a very short line, and before I say exactly what the line is, it's from Dr. Dreyfus, the neighbor, and some of my favorite stuff in comedy is exactly what's happening right here. And it's so Dr. Dreyfus is coming home and he screams, Mildred, he's at it again. And that's one of my very favorite things in film in general, is when you have a situation happening and two characters assume, because of prior things that have happened in the film, they assume that this thing is happening, even though it's not. And the audience knows it. So we get a laugh because we know it's happening in both rooms. And when you hear Dreyfuss say that, but you can't see Mildred, it just makes the timing that much funnier. And timing is everything, right? When it comes to laughter and getting people to laugh, and timing and execution, all that stuff. That's what I appreciate about that aspect of a film, you know? And I think that moment, I was just like dying laughing when that happened, because not just because of the line, but what's culminating around it. And there's some strong lines here. The one you chose is great. There's some stuff that Baxter says that's very, very intellectual and very deep. And then there's some little zingers that are hilarious. And I love that. I love that there's like these little one-liners that are just like not just write-offs. They're actually funny. And the Mildred, he's at it again. Like, God damn it. That's a really cool little funny bit.
I definitely saw this movie as like a straight up drama almost. It's funny because I laughed at certain times, like when when Fran finally realizes who she really loves and goes up to Baxter's apartment. She hears what she thinks is a gunshot.
Yes.
She's like, oh God. Yeah. Baxter opens the door with an uncorked bottle of champagne. I was rolling. That was brilliant.
Yes.
But yeah, I did see most of this film as a drama. The original line I had written down was when Baxter finds out that Fran is with Sheldrake by the mirror. And he opens the mirror and goes, oh, it's broken. And she says, yes, I know. I like it that way. It makes me look the way I feel. Man.
Yeah, that's devastating.
Yeah, man.
Devastating stuff.
There's so many emotionally devastating moments in this film that I don't know, maybe I just didn't see the comedy.
The comedy to me is in everybody but Shirley MacLaine. It's the guys who are talking, like, I can't remember which character it is when he comes to Baxter's apartment. He's like, oh, you got someone going on here, huh? Because he has the woman with him. He's like, hey, I made an appointment for 4:00 on Thursday. Come on, man. You know, that stuff cracks me up because it just reminds me of Mad Men.
I never finished Mad Men.
I like it a lot. It's not like one of my favorite shows, but man, it's a really solid cast and some well written stuff.
I watched the first 5 seasons, and then I think somewhere around the first couple of 6, I just like he had just married his secretary after knowing her for like 2 weeks, and I just didn't buy that at all. I was like, the show was mostly about how people really act, and then that thing happened, and I was like, that wouldn't happen. And then from there, it just started getting kind of boring to me, and I was getting more into Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead, and I was like, I don't need this. So I stopped.
That's awesome. Yeah, because isn't it also AMC, like Breaking Bad and Walking Dead? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I go a channel at a time, typically. Right now, Disney Plus is my channel.
Yeah, well, it's going to be for the next 5 years.
Yep, pretty much.
At least.
I'm well aware of what I like.
You know where you'll be. Yeah, that's good.
Cool. What was your Morricone?
My Morricone is what you just brought up, is the moment when Fran is running back to Baxter, and because the music is na 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 na, and she's running up the stairs. And then it gets really intense because you hear the pop, and then it goes back and you realize. And yeah, I was dying laughing at that part as well, just like you were. And I thought that was great because I love that also. As comedy has moved, or not just comedy, but movies in general, that like trope of a moment of thinking something horrible happened, but really it's just like this really silly thing. Or like in Austin Powers, when you see the shadows and it looks like he's like fucking somebody, but actually it's like he's pulling stuff out of a bag. That shit's, I love stuff like that when it kind of leaves you to kind of imagine and play with it visually. Really funny.
My favorite instant of that ever happening was in an episode of Frasier.
Oh, hell yeah. Here we go.
It was in season like 7 or 8. It was when Niles was he found out his wife Maris was cheating on him, and she wanted a divorce, and he could not cope despite being a psychiatrist. He immediately could not cope, and started sobbing, ran into the bathroom, and you hear an explosion. You think it's a gunshot, and everyone in the room is like, oh my god, like they're about to cry. They open the door, and Niles is covered in shaving cream because his father had put like a hot and foamy shaving cream heater in there, and it had exploded all over him. It was a great, like, immediate shift from horrible drama to laugh out loud comedy, and Frasier did that all the time. And easily my favorite sitcom. As much as I love It's Always Sunny and The Office, there's something special about Frasier that is just so dear to me.
That's really cool. I definitely, stuff that's prior to me being alive, definitely like Seinfeld would be the one that I point to after It's Always Sunny, probably. But Frasier is hilarious, and it's underrated at this point. Now it's underrated, so it's fun to go to bat for that kind of shit. What's your Morricone?
My Morricone is a lot more subtle. It's the scene where Fran and Mr. Sheldrake have their drink at the Chinese restaurant.
Oh, I almost picked that. I know
And in the background, like while they're talking about these, just, the horrible way he's treating her and how she doesn't really realize it, there's this subtle piano playing in the background that reminded me a lot of Casablanca. And it's just so sad because he's using her. He doesn't give a shit about her beyond what she can do for him. And you just want her to wake up. And it's just so sad. And yeah, something about that resonated with me. I liked that.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I definitely that definitely was like a moment in the movie that stuck out to me. It was when you use music and the camera's looking at a specific character. In this case, we're looking at Shirley MacLaine, and just how broken she is, right?
Yeah. Well, the way he's constantly saying,
you feel it.
He's saying, oh, I'm going to leave my wife. You just got to give me a few more weeks. Like, come on, dude. Hey, we all know you're full of shit. And the whole movie you're waiting for, like, why does she love him? That's the one question I could not answer with this film. Why does she love him?
I don't know. It's so hard to answer those questions when it comes to like whatever, someone staying in like a toxic relationship. It's hard to understand. It's hard to speak on when you haven't maybe been in one, or you don't know what exactly it's like to be manipulated like that.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine, man, being under someone's like grasp like that. Scary. Fucking scary.
Terrifying. Especially when it's, it's your boss. I mean, even if leave, I doubt she could.
Well, yeah, her and Baxter are both trapped by him in different ways. Yeah.
God.
Crazy stuff.
So, the Hoffman.
Yeah, the PSH.
This was tough. This was very tough. And I'm very interested to see who you have for this.
I kept it. I'm pretty boring here. I went Jack Lemmon. I simply think he has to be there for this movie to work. Shirley MacLaine is remarkable, but right from the get-go, especially this rewatch, there's something about Lemmon at this point in time in his career that is like, at this age, that's kind of funky, right? Kind of weird, the way he walks, the way he operates when he buys that hat, that $15 hat. Like, this guy's goofy as hell, and I adore when a guy like that can just kind of, because Burt Lancaster, it's like full on masculine, crazy performance, just ripping and yelling through stuff. But what Jack Lemmon's doing, like the way he shuffles cards, the way he looks at Shirley MacLaine, these things really matter, and Jack Lemmon does them all perfectly. And when you have, again, like a film like this, a dramedy, you desperately need those two people, him and Shirley MacLaine. You need them to connect. You need them to work for you to believe this connection. I think there's other people who could win this award, but I think I just, when I really thought about it, I went pen to paper. Jack Lemmon really is carrying this movie in such fine fashion as CC Baxter.
Well said. All very good points. He is, irreplaceable, and he is amazing. But I went Shirley MacLaine.
Totally fair. Did you think about anybody else aside from them too?
No,
right? You can't because you can't.
I just think Fran is such a tragic character. She's so sad and broken, but with her, interactions with Baxter, you can see the cracks starting to heal a little bit. You can see her being happy for the first time in probably a very long time. And there were certain scenes that just cemented that for me, like when Sheldrake gives her $100 and she's like, well, it's bought and paid for, like things like that. You can see that there is a very lively person under all of that sadness. And she wants to be vibrant and happy and excited, but this guy is just holding her back and she doesn't realize it. But we get to see this person kind of find who she, find herself again. And that's sweet. And I thought Shirley MacLaine did an amazing job selling that. And
yeah.
It was a toss-up. It was a very tough call to make, but there was something about her that popped and I wanted to showcase.
I like that a lot. I like that you looked at the two things that are really important and you sided with the female who quite frankly has more to go through as far as a character in this movie.
Yeah.
And I've there's no argument here, I think. And I think I feel the same way I do about our last Best Picture Showdown, as Hoffman and Streep were both incredible. I'm okay with either choice. They both have to be there. And same case for this movie. They both have to be there and present and giving these kind of monstrous performances. Again, just the way they play cards. I see it, I get it, and it looks real. And that's acting, right? Those little small things. They both have it down in this movie. Awesome stuff from both of them. They both totally deserve the nomination, deserve to be there, and are going to come up more and more on this show.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Fantastic.
So good. The Deacons. The Deacons. This is fun. I went down a road with this one. I thought a lot about it. I was writing stuff down as I was watching the movie, and I was like, oh man, I really like that. I really like the narration at the beginning, actually. I thought that was kind of genius. Reminded me of, Magnolia, one of my favorite movies ever, maybe my favorite movie, and it reminded me a little bit of Citizen Kane. I love that open narration. I went with something though that was it made me feel like I felt during the chase scene of French Connection. It made me feel like this time rewatching it, I was like, man, I totally missed how brilliant this scene was. And how I've seen this emulated so many times after. And it is when CC Baxter realizes that he's got to make some changes here with his apartment. He's got to make some schedule changes.
Oh.
So he starts calling people, and he's really sick and sniffling and putting tissues up his nose and flipping through these files and finding numbers, calling him, hey man, can you move to Wednesday? Okay. Well, I don't know. Okay, I'll get back to you. Calls the next guy and keeps going, and it's this scene that lasts for 5 or 6 minutes, and I was blown away by Jack Lemmon's commitment in that scene. That's a big reason why I chose him. I don't understand how he's able to genuinely look like frighteningly sick in that moment and do this thing that I feel like I've seen done at fucking stores, like at the mall. You got guys who are just like on the phone doing this shit, and it's Jack Lemmon, how he's able to just pull himself down into this chair, and he's got literally thousands of people around him, right? It just blew me away. That scene blew me away, and his commitment and the directing in it, just subtle touches with the camera. immediately when I wrote it down, I was like, yeah, that's definitely gonna be my Deacons.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, that was a cool scene. There was something about the like first half of the movie that immediately brought me back to Brazil.
Yes.
It's very much this whole, faceless company, a cog in the greater machine. Like, does he really matter? And scenes like that really hammered that home. Good choice.
Hell yeah. What's your Deacons?
Mine was a scene I knew was going to happen at some point, and I knew that when it did happen, it was going to be my pick, and I was totally right. It's the scene where Baxter finally stands up to himself and says no to Sheldrake on the apartment.
Oh yes.
It's such a great scene because Baxter goes in there like it was not going to be that. He was in good spirits, and then Sheldrake asked if he could have the apartment, and the demeanor immediately changes, and Baxter's like, no, you're not going anywhere near my apartment. Like it's no longer talking to my boss. It's talking to an asshole I do not like. And that was great. He said, you're not bringing her over there. And then when he throws him the key, you're like, oh shit, he caved. And then he goes into his room and starts packing up. And Sheldrake's like, hey, you gave me the wrong key. And he's like, no, I didn't. Like, it was done so well. Like, it's not going to sell anymore.
Extremely satisfying.
Oh, satisfying. The only thing that would have made it better is if he decked him. But yeah. That just wasn't in his character. I get it.
Oh man. So good. I also love when he gets punched, buddy boy? He gets punched by the brother-in-law. Just God, Baxter just takes a beating and keeps going. He puts the sunglasses on.
Dude, the fact that he has so many opportunities to clear the air with the doctor and the brother-in-law, he could say like, this is what's really happening, but he doesn't. Like, he just takes it. It's weird. It's like he doesn't think he's, even if he does say it's like, it's not like they're going to believe him. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just, he never bothered to go that extra mile. And at first I'm thinking like, well, is he going to lose the apartment? But I don't think apartment means that much to him. I don't know. I just wondered about that.
Yeah. Like where it's mostly about him standing up for what he, knows to be what he deep down knows to be right. He's a subtle man though, he's a simple man.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a great choice. Great choice. There's so many little moments too, right? That keep it moving, keep the movie popping, and I love that. I love that we got to do this film, and I love that we got to check out Elmer Gantry.
Yeah, this was solid. We had, 2 out of 5. Still a good for us.
Yeah, 40%, not bad. Yeah.
Solid. So I guess with that, we'll talk a little bit about this week in film, which is going to be the last time we do this on Oscar Sunday, because this segment will be moved to the sneak preview starting January 4th. Check that out.
Hell yeah.
Only 3 things to talk about this week. Going to end this segment on a quiet note. First up, it's been announced that Bill Nighy is going to be starring in a movie called Living, which is going to be a remake of Akira Kurosawa's film Ikiru. What do you think of that? They're remaking Kurosawa in Hollywood.
I mean, it's been done before, right? No, I think that's really cool to directly actually remake something and, say it out loud that we're going to remake Kurosawa. That's awesome. I'd love to see if we're going to remake people's stuff, Kurosawa's a guy to go to.
It's funny you point out that like most of the time when they do remake Kurosawa, they don't tell you they're remaking Kurosawa.
They no, it's hidden.
And they let us kind of figure it out. That's funny, but yeah, good point. And the other 2 topics are trailers. We have the Little Things, a very interesting film coming out in January, starring Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. Pretty loaded cast there. And it's about 2 cops going after a serial killer and thinking they got the guy, but maybe not. I think this looks very intriguing, and I'm excited to possibly do it on the sneak preview.
Oh yeah, 3 Oscar winners there: Rami Malek, Denzel, and Jared Leto. So one guy who totally deserves them, and the other 2,
I haven't seen Dallas Buyers Club yet, so I can't make that decision. But I agree.
It's an okay movie, but I think I don't think he was doing a great job. The weight loss stuff is impressive, but I don't think he's Jared Leto's not doing stuff that hasn't been done before, or that couldn't be done by someone else. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Maybe I need to rewatch it. It's been a couple years.
Well, we certainly have the podcast for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then the other trailer is a film that I really hope doesn't suck because I want to like this. Coming to America.
Yes.
2 as in the number 2, because that's going to be confusing. Eddie Murphy's triumphant return to the country of Zamunda and the return of Prince Akeem. I am a huge fan of Coming to America. It's one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies. So I'm excited to see this. Everyone's returning, and it's going to be on Prime in March. I want this to be good. I really want this to be good. I'm glad, Dolomite Is My Name was fantastic.
Me too, man.
I really hope this continues a winning streak for Eddie Murphy.
Agreed. And I'm glad we are going to have an alleyway to talk about it, whether it's good or not. In March, we will be able to do that in sneak preview and have some fun with it and talk Eddie Murphy. So that'll be great.
Yeah. And that is the end of this week in film on Oscar Sunday. Boom.
Hell yeah, man.
What are we doing next week?
Next week we're doing something similar to this, just with a whole different category of films. We're going to do our first ever best animated feature film showdown. It'll be the films of 2001 because that's the first year that they had this award proper, its own category. And what movie won, Connor? What's the first film that won?
Shrek, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, Shrek, DreamWorks, masterpiece. Obviously their greatest input of all time. And it won against Monsters, Inc. and Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. So we're going to try to watch all 3 of those, come back next week, listen to us talk about Shrek, Jimmy Neutron, Monsters, Inc., and give out awards to Shrek. And just talk about animated movies. I can't wait.
That's going to be so much fun. And that'll be our first Oscar Sunday of 2021, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Whew, crazy.
Yeah, started off right with Shrek.
Oh, it has been a motherfucker of a year. And we got through it.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, here's hoping 2021 will be better. I really don't see how it could be worse, but maybe I'm naive. Next week on the Filmgazm podcast, we're doing the 1946 very divisive, super racist Disney flick, Song of the South. So good luck finding that. If you're going to watch along with us, you're probably just going to have to sit that one out. Took me forever to find it. Very excited for this. And Shrek next week in 2021. Very excited since we won't be with you guys till the new year. Happy New Year from Oscar Sunday.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. Sneak preview starts on Monday, January 4th, and we will see you next year.
Hell yeah. Peace out.